Jeff from Two Hacks Garage. Well, this is another part on the how-to series we're doing on building an engine. As you saw in one video, we've chased threads, we've honed it, we've bored it. That's a little bit more in depth than just the average person doing, a typical rebuild. But we've already got the cam bearings installed, and in the last video you saw, we went ahead and installed the freeze plugs. And as you saw in that one, I said that we used an aviation sealant and also a PTFE, and that needed to kind of seal up, dry up before we could do anything further. Now, this engine is a little dirty. It's been in the hot tank, but it needs to be cleaned. Why that needs to be cleaned? Well, we're going to paint it. Subject, a lot of people have a lot of different opinions on. We're going to do it the way we do it. I'm painting it at this step here. One reason being is, well, the weather's nice outside right now, and it's wintertime, and it's nice enough where I can actually get out there and paint it. I also have a little bit of downtime, and with that, what we can do is get it painted. That's all done, and so if we do spill oil or grease on this when we're working on it, it'll just wipe right off. So what we're going to do today is kind of show you a basic engine painting. Like I said, a lot of people have a lot of different opinions on this. We're actually going to spray it. Some people brush it on. Some people do all kinds of different methods. But some of the things you might need for this, depending how dirty it is or the application you're going to use, you're definitely going to need some masking tape. This is just like a sharp knife edge set. A little bit of carb cleaner goes a long way. One thing I don't have out is like an acetone. It's in the other room. That really helps clean stuff up. Some cases, if you can't get a lot of the oil off, you can burn it off. This is cast iron, so you might want to use a little torch. Propane works. This is a Matte Pro. Another thing that helps, you don't use a whole lot of tape. This is just general purpose masking tape or masking paper for bigger areas you want to block off. And of course, you're going to need paint. What we're going to use today is made by VHT. These are engine enamel paints. This is good up to 550 degrees. Same thing with the primer. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to mask everything off, and we're going to get it all taped off. First off, we're going to clean it, and then we're going to paint it. So with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get started on this, and I'll see you in a few. All right, so what you saw me do there was initially I took some brake clean, wiped this surface down because you're going to end up taping over this. I took some acetone, wiped it down even more. Mind you, this has been hot tanked. A lot of what you're seeing is some staining. And then I took that map torch. And basically what that map torch is doing, it is getting this cast iron hot. It's burning off any oils. It's kind of like sweating the block and getting any contaminants out. Now, what I did was after that, I wiped it down again, and I went over and mapped it again, one, to get more of the contaminants off, and also any debris from the rags just burned off. You want to be careful around these here to not get them too hot because you don't want to reactivate that and leave it. This one, a little gooey. I'm going to wipe that off real quick. Might have got a little bit too close to that one, but it's going to be okay. The other thing is, too, is I did the front of the engine block the same way as you saw everywhere else. So kind of the next step after that you got this done is what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to tape this surface off here. So that's what I'm going to start doing now is getting this surface taped off here and then the front. And also, mind you, you do want to have some extra bolts to put in any threads that you see here so you don't get paint in there. It's going to make assembly a whole lot easier. So that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this taped off. That's where your tape comes in handy along with your knife edge. And mind you, if you do get a little bit of paint on here, it comes right off. Don't worry about it. So we're going to go ahead and get this taped off in the front, and we'll get the plugs in here, and then we're going to flip it, and I'll show you what we're going to do next. See you in a few. All right, so, well, we got it all taped off, got it cleaned and all that. It's fully encapsulated. In the back here, what I did was I took some of that brown paper. I shoved it in there. You really ain't got to worry about if you do get paint back there, but you want to make sure your bearing surfaces and all that, any orifice going inside the engine block is covered. So everything's been cleaned. It's all been taped off. I've got bolts in there. The front's taken care of. And what I did with that brown paper is I made like a little deck bridge and then built off on tape like that. You don't have to do that. I kind of went overkill, and one of the reasons being is I'm going to paint this, and it's going to sit for probably 3, 4, 5 days before I get to do anything else on it. So I'm just going to keep it completely encapsulated so no moisture gets in there and it rusts on anything, even though it is oiled down. But yeah, as you can see, it's pretty well taped off, nice and neat. I'm going to go back over, make sure there's no holes anywhere. You don't want that. I did put multiple layers of tape on. And like I said, if you do get tape or if you do get paint somewhere where you don't want, a little acetone and a rag wipes it right off. So yeah, this is kind of how we do it. Like I said, there's a million different ways how people do this. But yeah, we're ready to go paint. See you in a few. Well, we're going to call that our app today. It takes a little bit of time to do this, especially the taping off portion. As you saw, we cleaned it, went through all of that, and you use a torch to get more contaminants, kind of sweat that block out. Wiped it down with some acetone, and the surfaces that you're going to tape to, wipe down also. Make sure there's no oil and grease on there. You do want to keep the oil that's in the valley pan that you put on there so it doesn't rust, and same with the cylinders. It's not enough on there for us to have it drip through and kind of leak through this. So from there, what we basically did is after we taped it off, put bolt holes everywhere. A couple things I didn't show is there's little holes that go in the engine. I actually did shove a little bit of like cotton in there to prevent any paint getting in there. I'll pick those out. Now mind you, this will all get blown out, everything cleaned up and all that prior to assembly. After that, guys, pretty much it was primer and then 2 coats of paint. I didn't show the last coat. I had my phone charging, sorry. So I threw a second coat on here. And they also do make an engine enamel clear for this, which I might end up doing. It just helps protect it. But the other thing is, too, is I know a lot of people say, oh, you should wait till the end to paint an engine. Well, I did that with my 460, and it was just fine. With this one, I'm trying it a little bit different method of before assembly. And if we get grease and oils on here, there's different cleaning solutions that you can use to get that grease and oil off without damaging the paint. Plus, seeing I am doing YouTube, the aesthetics of this engine painted, putting together, looks a little bit better. So in my case, it was a win-win. Always use your personal preference, but always make sure you take those proper steps of taping everything off, getting any holes filled, making sure that engine block is clean, just taking your time, guys. That's what it really comes down. I know there's methods of people brushing on paint. That works really well too. In this case, we went ahead with VHT. It's a quality product. We cleaned it the way we should have, and on top of it, we taped it the way we should have. And if there was a little paint where it doesn't need to be, you can take a little acetone, wipe that right off, and you're good to go. So like I said, this is our preference on this build. There's many of them out there. Do what suits your application, but I just wanted to put together a video of kind of how to in this series of engine build we're doing. Hope you guys learned something. And you know what? It really just takes a little bit of time, a little bit of elbow grease, always some good tunes on in the background. And with that, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to see you tomorrow. Have a good one.